Welcome to the Explainer. All right, let's talk about a phrase that's been thrown around a lot lately. The Fourth Industrial Revolution.
So we hear it everywhere, but what does it actually mean? Today, we're going to dig in and figure out if this is a real game-changing moment in history, or maybe just a whole lot of hype.
All right, so to get a handle on this, let's go right back to the beginning. Where did this idea even come from?
Yeah, this phrase didn't just quietly appear in some stuffy academic journal. Nope. It was rolled out on the world stage at Davos by none other than Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum. He basically sold it as the start of a whole new chapter for humanity. And you know what? The world listened. It was everywhere.
But to really grasp why they're calling this the fourth one, and what's supposed to be so revolutionary about it, it helps to take a quick step back and look at the first three.
So you can see here, each revolution was sparked by a massive technological leap that just completely changed the game. First, we got steam in factories. Then, boom, electricity and mass production. Then came computers and automation. And now we have what they call cyber-physical systems. Fancy term, but it really just means our digital and physical lives are becoming one and the same.
And that's the key thing to remember. This isn't like the steam engine, one single invention. It's about a whole bunch of different technologies, from AI to biotech, all hitting their stride at the exact same time and starting to blend together. And that fusion, that's what's supposed to make this whole thing so powerful.
Schwab, the guy who started this whole conversation, he breaks it down into three big buckets. You've got the physical stuff, think advanced robots, 3D printing, self-driving cars. Then there's the digital. That's things like the Internet of Things, where your fridge talks to your phone, plus blockchain and big data. And then, and this is where it gets really wild, the biological sphere. We're talking about gene editing, actually rewriting the code of life.
Okay, so that's the big idea. Sounds pretty huge, right? But not everyone's buying it. A lot of historians, a lot of economists, they're looking at all this with a healthy dose of skepticism. And they're asking a really simple but really important question.
And it boils down to this. Does making our lives a little more convenient really count as a revolution? I mean, is a smart plug you can control from your couch really in the same league as, say, the steam engine, which literally changed the face of the planet?
And this is really the core of the whole debate. Critics point out that the first industrial revolution, it created brand new economic classes, the whole capitalist and worker dynamic. It fundamentally reshaped society and built the cities we live in. They argue that what we're seeing today, well, it's more of an extension of the digital age. It's just connecting devices we already have and making things a bit more efficient.
This quote just nails the skeptical argument. Think about it for a second. The washing machine, the refrigerator, these things were revolutionary. They freed up massive amounts of human time and labor, completely transforming daily life. The question is, can we honestly say a smart plug has had anywhere near that kind of impact?
Okay, so maybe the gadgets themselves aren't as life-altering. But there's another side to this story, and it's a big one. Because if you look at how the biggest companies in the world operate today, you see some incredibly powerful evidence that something truly fundamental has changed. This is where the argument for a real revolution gets, really interesting.
I mean, just look at Uber. It's the biggest taxi company on the planet, and it owns 0 cars.
Or think about Facebook. It's one of the largest media owners in the world, but it doesn't create any content. We do.
And it doesn't stop there. Alibaba is one of the most valuable retailers with no inventory.
And of course, there's Airbnb, the world's biggest accommodation provider that owns absolutely no real estate. See a pattern here?
This is the new paradigm. What all these giants prove is that value isn't in owning physical stuff anymore. The real power, the new core asset, is the platform. It's all about connecting people and data. And you have to admit, that feels like a pretty revolutionary shift in how the world works.
So, this new model is incredibly powerful, no doubt about it, but, and it's a big but, it seems to be pushing our society towards one of two very, very different futures.
On the one hand, you have this incredible utopian vision, a world where we solve scarcity, where we end disease with biotech, where we finally unleash all of our human potential. But then there's the flip side, the dystopia, a future of mass job losses, of widening inequality, where all this power gets concentrated in the hands of just a tiny few.
And when you look at the data on that division, wow, it is absolutely staggering. Check out this number,
which really drives the point home.
Think about that. Back in 2015, just 62 billionaires, 62 people, you could fit them all on one bus, held as much wealth as the poorest 3.6 billion people on Earth combined, half the planet. This shows that wealth is concentrating at an insane pace, and these new platform-based technologies seem to be pouring fuel on that fire.
And what's really interesting is that even Klaus Schwab, the guy who champions this idea, points this out. He admits that right now the people who are benefiting the most from all this innovation are the ones who already have the capital and own the ideas, the innovators, the shareholders, the investors.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? As all this technology reshapes our world, is it just making your life more convenient? Or is it also making our society more unequal? Hype or history, you can call it what you want, but the impact it's having on all of us is undeniable.
You've probably heard the term Fourth Industrial Revolution thrown around a lot, and usually it's painted as this amazing, inevitable future. But today, we're going to dig into the other side of that story. Is this revolution really the promise of a better world, or is it a peril we haven't quite wrapped our heads around yet?
Okay, so what is the Fourth Industrial Revolution really? I mean, this isn't just about one single invention like the steam engine or the internet. No, think way bigger. The key idea here is hyperconnectivity. It's this moment where all of our coolest tech, AI, genetics, robotics, you name it, starts to merge and work together. The lines between our physical world, our digital lives, and even our own biology are getting seriously blurry, all for the sake of total efficiency.
And that brings us to this really powerful metaphor. On the surface, this whole revolution looks like a gentle lamb, promising all this convenience and progress. But what we need to consider is that lurking underneath, it might just be a wolf, a predator that could change our society in ways we're not prepared for.
Let's start with the thing that hits closest to home for pretty much all of us, our jobs. Yeah, this revolution promises amazing benefits for us as consumers, but what about us as workers? That's where things start to get complicated.
And the scale of this whole thing is just, wow. One report put out this number, 47%. That's the percentage of all jobs in the U.S. that are considered at high risk of being automated away. We are talking about nearly half of the entire workforce. Just let that sink in for a second.
And this table really spells it out, doesn't it? The jobs most in danger are the ones that follow predictable rules and routines. Things like cashiers, which is a huge number of jobs, administrative staff, and accountants. But on the flip side, the jobs that seem safer, at least for now, are the ones that need a real human touch. Things that require deep emotional connection, creativity, or complex physical skills. We're talking caregivers, artists, athletes.
Which leads us to this massive paradox. I mean, who doesn't love the convenience of one-click ordering or automated checkouts? But here's the billion-dollar question. What good is all that consumer convenience if the consumers themselves don't have an income anymore?
You see, this kind of widespread job loss could lead to something way bigger and way scarier. A society literally split in two. The future could be so stark that it's being compared to that movie Elysium, where you have the super rich living in a paradise up in space, while everyone else is just left behind on a broken Earth.
And this is about so much more than just poverty. It's about relative poverty. As this quote gets at, the psychological pressure of seeing that gap between the haves and the have-nots get wider and wider, well, that can be even more explosive than just hardship by itself. It breeds resentment. It can tear the very fabric of society apart.
So let's make this real. Imagine a world where one person's lunch is a 30,001 luxury burger from a hotel, while another person is eating a 1,501 rice roll from a convenience store. It's not just about the price tag, it's about two completely different realities. These two people might live in the same city, but their worlds, they don't even touch.
And the craziest part, the very technologies pushing this revolution are also pouring gasoline on the fire. Social media has us constantly looking at these perfectly curated lives, which just fuels envy and makes us feel dissatisfied. Then we retreat into what are being called cyber ghettos, these online echo chambers where our own beliefs just get repeated back to us, deepening all the cracks in society.
But this goes even deeper than jobs or how a society is structured. This revolution isn't just changing the world around us, it is forcing us to ask some really fundamental questions about what it even means to be human.
This slide just captures it perfectly. You see the two faces of these powerful new tools. On one hand, sure, robotics could provide companionship for lonely or isolated people. But could it also make us devalue real human connection? Gene editing could wipe out horrible diseases. But what if it also creates a brand new biological class system?
And that brings us to something straight out of sci-fi, what some are calling the Gattaca scenario. Think about it. If gene editing tech is so expensive that only the wealthy can afford it, do we risk creating a permanent biological upper class? A world where the rich aren't just richer, but they're genetically better, stronger, smarter, healthier, all by design.
So, with all these potential dangers on the table, what do we do? How do we even begin to navigate this new world? Well, the answer might not be to become more like the machines, but actually to become more deeply human.
So the path forward isn't about trying to outcompute the computers. It's about doubling down on the things that make us, well, us. We need to cultivate the kinds of intelligence that robots just can't copy. That means contextual intelligence, so we can see the big picture. Emotional intelligence, so we can build real empathy with each other. Inspired intelligence, to find our purpose and creativity. And physical intelligence, to stay grounded in our bodies in the real world. These are the skills that are going to matter most.
And in the end, we're left with this final thought, one that's kind of inspired by Frankenstein. The doctor created a being that he couldn't control, and that creation ended up being named after him. We are the creators of this fourth industrial revolution. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, will we be its masters and guided for the good of everyone, or will we become its monsters by unleashing forces we can no longer control?